Alright guys, what's going on? Welcome in. So in this one, I really wanted to just pose the question, ask the question, what's happening? What's the plan for CJ Mosley and the inside linebacker position? As we all know, Robert Saleh's coming over, installing a brand new defense. I'm really excited about it, but I feel like this linebacker position specifically is a little hazy to the public, to the fans right now. Who knows what's happening behind the veil? Maybe the Jets have a plan, but as far as we stand right now, just feel like the fans are kind of left with a lot of questions. So with that being said, let's dive in. So back in 2019, the New York Jets went out and Mike McCagnon, I should say, went out and signed CJ Mosley. Massive contract at the time, 5 years, $85 million. CJ Mosley arrives to the New York Jets, a lot of hype, a lot of production coming from Baltimore, multiple-time Pro Bowler. This guy can hit, he's great in coverage, he's a great leader. Every single season for the Baltimore Ravens, and even going back to college, this guy produced. This looked like an awesome signing. Of course, the Jets had to, shell out a pretty massive deal, but on the flip side, we're getting a great player, we're getting a blue-chip player. Everything seemed to be looking up. And then the worst thing that could have happened. CJ Mosley had a huge injury week 1 of the NFL season against the division rival Buffalo Bills, causing him to miss pretty much the entirety of the year. All right, a lingering injury that ended up rearing its ugly head at the tail end of the season when he came back, okay? The second CJ Mosley left that game in week 1 against the Bills, that defense fell apart. The Bills stormed back and ended up winning the game in MetLife Stadium. It was a horrible loss. It's a horrible way to go out. So we're looking at CJ Mosley, missed tons of time his first season with the New York Jets. Entering year 2, 2020, it was the year of the virus. He decides to opt out. That's cool, family decision, I get it completely, and it was a little bit of a tough pill to swallow, for sure. I'm not going to sit here and lie to you. I mean, this guy was one of the biggest acquisitions, arguably the biggest acquisition that the team made in that free agency class, missed pretty much the entire season. He only played in 2 games and couldn't finish either game, and then everybody's getting excited for 2020 and he opts out. But at the end of the day, it was his decision, and I'm not going to hold that against him. I completely understand it. So here we are today. Adam Gase is gone. Greg Williams is gone. A new defense will be installed with Robert Saleh. It's the 4-3 defense. Now, at this point in time, Robert Saleh has just, said the traditional coach speak, pretty much just saying how awesome of a player CJ Mosley is, how productive he's been over the course of his career, and really that he's just excited to work with him. And that's awesome. That's exactly what you want to hear from a player's coach in Robert Saleh. I love it. But here's where things start to get a little interesting. When you start looking at the facts, the reality of the situation, the reality of the world that we're living in today, CJ Mosley has played in parts of 2 games in 2 years. Yes, 1 year was because of the virus. It wasn't because of another injury or anything like that. But that still doesn't change the fact that he's only played in parts of 2 games in 2 seasons. That is a little concerning, for sure. You look at the contract, 5 years, $85 million. That is a humongous deal. Next season, he's owed $7.5 million, but in 2022, that's when that number skyrockets up to $17.5 million. The 2 seasons after that, 2022, 2023, it's $18.5 million. Okay, so a lot of money is still left on this deal. If we trade CJ Mosley after June 1st, of course, we'll save $6 million. We'll obviously get rid of the contract, so that's a plus. So it really comes down to, is CJ Mosley worth the money? Because I truly feel like CJ Mosley can still be a productive player in this league. Whether you want to talk about on the New York Jets or not, I feel like CJ Mosley can play. I mean, yes, the injury happened, and yes, he's missed a ton of time, but he can still be a productive linebacker. But again, the question comes back to, is CJ Mosley worth what he's currently being paid? A contract that wasn't given to him by Joe Douglas. It was given to him by Mike McCagnon, and a lot of people at the time said he overpaid to get him. But I understand it because we were a bad football team and we needed to get guys to the building. That's what happens when you are a bad team. You have to overpay for some guys, especially premier players like CJ, so I get it. But this is the tough part. This is the tough part about the whole thing. The question of whether he's worth the money is a lot more unclear because we haven't seen him play in so long. So we start taking a look at other moves that Joe Douglas has made this offseason, and the first player that JD decides to bring in is inside linebacker from the Detroit Lions, Gerard Davis. 1 year with a base salary of $5.5 million with playing incentives that can get that contract up to $7 million. That is interesting. it's interesting because Joe Douglas, we already know he's, he kind of takes this patient approach to free agency, but with all of this cap space and with all of the vacancies on the roster at that point in time, corner, wide receiver, running back, interior offensive line, strong safety, outside linebacker, still didn't really know what was happening with the quarterback position. We go out and we sign an inside linebacker in Gerard Davis to a pretty solid deal. To kind of put it in perspective, Phillip Lindsay, a solid running back in the league today, 1 year, $3 million. Kyle Fuller, cornerback, one of the best cornerbacks in the league, 1 year, $9.5 million. We gave Gerard Davis, a guy who didn't really see a lot of football in Detroit just because he wasn't really the best system fit. He was working with Matt Patricia. We already know who Matt Patricia is, so it wasn't all Davis's fault or anything like that. But why is it that JD's first move of a very, very important free agency class to go out and prioritize the inside linebacker position over many other positions, and we already have a quote-unquote answer at that position already, signing him to a pretty solid deal? Right? 1 year, $5.5 million is not some cheap contract that's just thrown around like nothing. It's not. So it begs the question, are we going to play both? Are we going to put both on the field at the same time? Is CJ Mosley going to be moved? Is he going to be cut? I doubt it, just because of, the financial reasons. Is he going to be traded? What's happening? Are we just bringing Gerard Davis in as a security blanket if CJ Mosley happens to get hurt again? What's the plan at the inside linebacker position? If you guys have any predictions or any thoughts on that, please drop it down below in the comment section, because I think it's a really interesting conversation for sure. So I want to really keep my eyes on the situation and monitor it as we progress through our training camp, and then of course through preseason. But one quick last thing before I end the video, I do want to bring this up. Gerard Davis and CJ Mosley's physical skill sets, to me, are completely different. I feel like with CJ Mosley, I mean, of course, first and foremost, he's been the more productive player. He's older. The stats speak for themselves. The Pro Bowls speak for themselves. But I feel like in coverage, CJ Mosley is awesome. He is awesome dropping back in coverage, being the anchor of the middle of the field, wrapping up in open field. The instincts are there. The defensive IQ is there. CJ Mosley is truly a leader of the defense. I mean, yes, I am having to go back and reminisce on the Baltimore Raven CJ Mosley. I don't know really what's happening now, mid-May 2021, but going back to 2018, 2017 CJ Mosley, this guy was one of the best linebackers in the entire National Football League. I'll go as far as to say he was a top 5 guy. Whereas Gerard Davis, I feel like he's a little bit more of a thumper, a downhill runner that's fantastic in the running game, that struggles more so in the pass game. I feel like Gerard Davis is a huge hitter. When you know you're going to be hit by Gerard Davis, you better brace yourself, because it will hurt. If you don't know he's coming, he's going to drive you into the ground. You will feel it for sure. I mean, going back to his college days at Florida, this guy was an absolute monster. I thought when the Lions picked him, he was not only did he fall to the Lions, but I'm like, he's going to be with the Detroit Lions for the next 10 seasons. Now, unfortunately, they brought in Patricia, they switched up the scheme and all that kind of stuff, but Gerard Davis still has the upside. I just feel like Mosley and Davis's skill set kind of differ, and that's what's interesting about the whole situation. So it'll be a fun thing to keep your eye on as we progress throughout the summer. But anyway, thanks so much for watching. Let me know your thoughts down below in the comment section. What do you think the plan is for this Jets team at the inside linebacker position? Do you want to keep Mosley, trade Mosley, cut Mosley? Do you want to play Gerard Davis and Mosley in on the same defense at the same time? Tons of possibilities here, tons of crazy things that we can kind of think about. Maybe a positional change, I don't know at this point. We'll see what happens. But anyway, thanks so much, and as always, go Jets.